Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the press, media, and good morning to you in the listening public. First of all, let me apologize for being a few minutes late in starting. We usually have some technical difficulties, and we had a little this morning. I am Eugene Hamilton. With me at this press conference of the People's Action Movement this morning is Mr. Lindsay Fitzpatrick Grant, political leader of the People's Action Movement, the Honorable Vincent Byron, Senator. The Honorable Sean Richards should have been here, but on the way there was an emergency in the family and had to take care of that, so he might be arriving late. This morning we're here to share some concerns with you. The issues regarding the introduction of the new tax regime, VAT, which, according to press releases, is being introduced beginning today. When this tax measure was introduced a few weeks ago, Prime Minister in his presentation claimed that this tax replaces 10 taxes. Before the implementation, which is today, we have been taken back to Parliament, and 2 of those taxes have been reintroduced under a new heading called the unincorporated business tax, which actually takes or reintroduces the consumption tax and the trader's tax. The objective of this tax, as I understand it, was to harmonize some tax regimes and to make it simpler. But truth be told, the introduction of this tax really was to increase the cash intake of government, spreading it across the poorer people in our nation, rather than try to control their spending habits to deal with an already burdened situation. Today, my political leader, Mr. Lindsay Grant, will make a presentation, and at the head table we have Vincent Byron, myself, and the Honorable Sean Richards, who will assist with responding to questions from any of you who have those questions. Please let us introduce the leader of the People's Action Movement, Mr. Lindsay Fitzpatrick Grant.
Good morning, everyone. Let me express my thanks and appreciation to you, the representatives of the media, and the members of the listening public who have joined us today for this important press briefing hosted by the People's Action Movement. Today, as we are all aware, is an important day in the financial annals of our country, and more importantly, in the personal lives of each and every one of our citizens. Today, Monday, the 1st November 2010, is VAT Day. It is the day on which the current Labour administration, headed by Dr. Denzel Douglas, has decided to place more burdens on the lives of the poor and vulnerable citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis. Today, my fellow citizens, is the day chosen by the Labour government to create higher prices, introduce more taxes, and reduce the standard of living of the working class people of both islands. It is a day that will go down in infamy. A day when those who claimed to be for the poor have instead done all they could to make life harder for the unemployed, the elderly, and those struggling to make ends meet. If there was any doubt that the Labour government has now confirmed that it truly does not care about the masses. The introduction of the value-added tax means that we will now have to pay taxes on services and products that before were free from such levies. The cost of living will increase, while the quality of our lives will decrease. The advent of the value-added tax will determine for a very long time the economic well-being of the citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis. But how did we arrive at this point of economic disaster in our country? The answer is very, very simple. The poor state of affairs is a direct result of the mismanagement of the economy by the Minister of Finance and Prime Minister, Dr. Denzil Douglas, and his uncaring Labour administration. The government is introducing the value-added tax because the country is broke and heading to bankruptcy. The country is broke because of the wasteful and reckless spending of a government that is clouded in secrecy and deceit about the financial management of the Treasury. VAT is being introduced because over the last 15 years, the Labour government has wasted our tax dollars on mysterious projects like the La Valley. On this project alone, government has spent over $250 million, and to date, they have not given any account on where the money has gone. In the meanwhile, nothing can be shown for some of these projects, such as La Valley. Over the last 15 years, the People's Action Movement has been warning the government and informing the nation of the wanton spending and squandering of the country's scarce resources. We also drew to the public's attention the fact that Labour's careless spending would one day come back to haunt us if left unchecked. That day is upon us today. We drew attention to the fact that we were spending too much of our resources on debt repayment, 46 cents on the dollar from the last check. We drew attention to the fact that our overspending on government contracts without accountability would be detrimental in the long run. Most, if not all, of our utterances were treated with disregard and disdain by the government. It is now clear that the Labour government has been spending more money than it has been receiving in revenue. As a result, each year since this new Labour government has been in office, our country has had huge deficits or overspending that has now created a huge national debt of over some $3 billion. This makes St. Kitts and Nevis the most indebted nation in the world in terms of our debt to GDP ratio. This is the reason, my fellow citizens, that the Labour government is introducing VAT. May I repeat, VAT is being thrust upon us because the Labour government has made our nation desperate and extremely broke. The poor management of the economy has been so bad that St. Kitts and Nevis is in a worse position than Haiti, which is known to be the poorest nation on earth. The International Monetary Fund, the IMF, is predicting that Haiti's growth rate will be almost 8 times better than our own. This is rather embarrassing. With so much focus being placed on taxation, we are very much concerned that without the proper controls, checks, and balances in place, any improvement in revenues will be quickly squandered. Since the new Finance Act was passed several years ago, the Minister of Finance has not brought into effect the procurement schedule. The schedule, which is still in the Attorney General's chambers, after 4 years must therefore be replaced by a Procurement Act containing criminal sanctions. I will continue, along with my party, to advocate for the integrity in public life legislation and campaign finance reform, as these are key ingredients to good governance and democracy. Without these changes in the way the affairs of the government are conducted, we will sink deeper and deeper into dictatorship characterized by an unsustainable economic and financial position. We have yet to see any World Bank public expenditure reviews that critically analyze the direction of government expenditure. I can only assume that much of the content of this and other reports reveal severe inefficiencies. Government's own stabilization program has been a dismal failure. The Structural Adjustment Technical Assistance Program, SATAP, started in 2002, has only led to increasing deficits and debt. At every budget, we look forward to the accounts of the government corporations, but the outcome has been the same. No accounts are tabled before Parliament. The danger of not being able to scrutinize these accounts is that there is no debate on possible corrective actions until there is a crisis. Clearly, if these accounts were available, such as those of the Port Authority, the crisis there could have been possibly averted. The fate of the other corporations, such as the NHC, will soon come to light as all government corporations suffer from the same disease, that is, high level of political interference and patronage, mismanagement, and debt. The IMF, in its recent World Economic Outlook, showed that our growth projections for the next 5 years will be the worst in the Caribbean up to the year 2015. The IMF also reported that St. Kitts and Nevis was last in economic performance in a survey of 150 countries worldwide. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for us to take stock and to listen to the real facts about our country, St. Kitts and Nevis. Do not allow your partisan political beliefs to prevent you from accepting that St. Kitts and Nevis is broke. It is now clear that the picture that was painted by the Labour government during the election campaign in January was nothing but a lie. Labour told you that the economy was working. They lied. They told you that tourism was working. They lied. The government said that health, education, and agriculture were working. They lied. When we examine the poor conditions of the police stations, hospitals, clinics, the prisons, roads, our parks and beaches and schools, it would become